Hi, I am Rocket Mean. I'm the executive director of the Rose City Rollers. I am also the founder of Rose City Rollers and the founding member of the WFTDA. Today we are talking about sponsorship, and I have some, a fun tale to tell you about myself and sponsorship, but also some really kind of useful stuff. And I want to make sure that we kind of cruise through the deck pretty quickly because I want to get to all your questions. So I'm going to go ahead. So you guys know this is being recorded, and I also forgot to put my dogs away, so that's going to be fun. Hold on one second. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and kick it over and start off our deck. Okay, a little housekeeping. So hopefully you can all see this. Building sponsorships and partnerships to support your league. Go ahead and Meg, do you want them to use the chat function or the Q&A function?
You can use either. We can't see your screen yet, though.
Can't see my screen. Oh. Oh, you'd think we hadn't been using Zoom this entire time. Okay. Now I'm guessing y'all can see my screen. We good? Thumbs up.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. It is a lunch hour, so we're going to dive right in. Like I said, I'm executive director and founder of Rose City Rollers. I'm the longest living modern roller derby employee. I went full-time working for roller derby in 2006. I have degrees in advertising and marketing, and my favorite thing to say is I empower you to do blah, blah, blah. And I do this job because I love it. But, the glitz and the fortune and the fame is like really a close second. Fun fact, the way that I became the first employee of Rose City Rollers was actually, I said, we were moving into a venue, and we needed somebody to, be in charge of running, and making sure we're, signing contracts and doing things right. And I said to my board, I will bring in $30,000 in sponsorship this year, and you can pay me $30,000. So it's a wash. And that is how I first became the executive director and how our league funded it. So that's the power of sponsorship. Here we go. All right, trifecta of contribution revenue. As a nonprofit, so this seminar is relevant if you are not a nonprofit and you're just a regular small business, but also if you are a nonprofit, we have another follow-up seminar that's going to happen about grants and donations. But sponsorships, grants, and donations make up the trifecta of contribution income that really is kind of the thing that keeps nonprofits afloat. So sponsorships, they are money from businesses to support your mission or a particular project, and we'll get more into that. Grants, that is money from foundations to support your mission or a particular project, and donations is money from individuals to support your mission or a particular project. So you've got businesses supporting you, you've got foundations supporting you, and you've got individuals supporting you, and that is how nonprofits live. In the world of roller derby, we also have the added benefit of earned income from ticket revenue and things like that, and also membership dues. So we are unique nonprofits. Okay, next. Uh-oh, go. I feel like my computer is trying to give out. Okay. So a little bit of things about, how we use contribution revenue within RCR. It funds things, like I said, it funds staff. So like I said before, sponsorship was the, that kind of seed money that started with me as the first employee. We now have 9 staff members at Rose City. It's also one of those kind of things where grant money and sponsorship money goes hand in hand, and helped us build things like Skateball and help us fund things like Rent and Roll. So that kind of trifecta of contribution revenue is, an amazingly powerful thing for your league and can provide for wonderful things. So I implore you to dive in to contribution revenue, starting today with sponsorship. Okay. I also want to share a few kind of basic suggestions for nonprofits before we get too far. 1, track all donors, grants, and sponsorships in the same place and the same way. Little green light is what we use for all of our donor stuff, and we're moving all of our sponsorship sponsorship tracking into it, I will tell you that tracking donors and grants and sponsors really well is so important because of the fact that, you know, a lot of leagues, you have turnover, you have people that might work on sponsorship as a committee, and you need to have everything tracked. You need to know who those sponsors are, what they paid, what they're supposed to be getting, and you need to make sure that you have all their contact information and you make notes on when you last talked to them. Same thing with donors and foundations. Find the nonprofit association in your state and join it. Almost every state has a nonprofit association, and they are going to be hugely helpful to you. You're also going to be able to go and do sessions with them, like they have all kinds of trainings, and you see the businesses around that support nonprofits. So it's kind of like a real nice clue for who you could tap for sponsors. Ask for help and don't pretend to know more than you do. People love helping 501c3s. I'm going to share some of my knowledge today. But when you turn back to your league and to your community, you should be looking at who might be willing to help you. And, you know, don't be shy about saying, I don't know how to do this thing. Is there somebody in the league, or is there somebody in our community that can help? And you might even find people who want to help you with sponsorship, that do something that's related to that in their work life, who would be willing to do it on the side for Derby. Hire a boss. You need someone to oversee operations, finances, and the legal shit. I will keep saying that. I know a lot of you might go, we're not there. We couldn't possibly do that. We're recovering right now. I absolutely understand, but I think that it's one of those kind of things that provides stability. Even if you hire a half-time executive director and they are responsible for, you know, selling your sponsorships, making sure all your contracts are fulfilled, you know, managing your, you know, venue legalities and things like that. So I just keep saying that. The other thing is hire a bookkeeper. Literally, most leagues get by with like 5 hours a month. You know, we're talking like $150 to $200 to keep your books super tight. And that is knowing that every dollar that's supposed to come in has, every dollar that's supposed to go out has, that you're taking care of your taxes and all that kind of stuff the way you're supposed to. So that's just my tiny soapbox. Now we move on. Sponsors, what are they? These are businesses who want to partner with or support your organization. They're typically driven by loving your mission, wanting access to your audience, or wanting access to your members, or they just think that you're cool and they want to have that cool factor from being aligned with you. They're often more professional in approach than you are, so be prepared to bring your A game. A lot of time, once you get beyond like the mom and pop shops, you're going to have businesses who have a dedicated like marketing department, and they're going to come with you with real specifics. So think of yourself as being very professional in what you do, so that they feel like they can trust their money with you and their brand with you. Sponsors are often influenced by who you already partner with, so choose wisely. If you have a roster of sponsors on your website that these are businesses that support lots of community activities, they're known for you know, having really great hiring practices, they partner with other nonprofits, they're really cool and fun, great, because then you are likened to them in that group. Be careful with the sponsors. If you have a gut feeling about a sponsor that they're shady, or they have bad reviews on Yelp for being like really crappy, say no. You do not have to partner with somebody just because they offer you money. I have said no many, many times to many, many things. And I've said yes to things that I should have said no to. Oh, that's always fun getting out of. Sponsorships, what they are. They're not giving you money without expectations. The key is knowing what their expectations are so that you can know whether or not you can fulfill them. Also, they're not going to stick around if you don't deliver on contract terms, or you act in ways that don't align with their business. If I go and spout off on social media something horrible, that is going to get back to sponsors. If I do something myself, or if Rose City does something, or we participate in an event or something that really goes against, like, it would probably go against our core values too. But like, just know that those kind of things affect your sponsorships. Sponsors are not guaranteed year over year. Budgets and priorities change. The key is get the sponsor, well, identify sponsors that align with you, figure out what they want in a partnership, deliver on what you say you can deliver and don't overpromise, and then make sure you spend time working on that relationship. Because if you have all of those things going, that's what's really going to make sponsors want to stick around year over year. I will tell you, currently, 75% of my sponsors have been with me for, I don't know, 7+ years. And that's all about delivering and also maintaining relationships. Next. All right. Why they're super important. With consistency, you'll be able to have a base level of sponsorship dollars that you can rely on annually and that can fund specific things like an employee or two, or, can fund, your venue and things like that, or travel, whatever it needs to be. But once you get your sponsor level consistent, then you can plan on that every year and it's not going to be fluctuating. If they're treated well, they will be vocal supporters in your community and encourage others to partner with you. This is important. Like, if people like working with Rose City Rollers and they tell another business that they might be in a business association with, oh, Rose City Rollers is fantastic to work with, then that's going to help you. And that's what you want. You want other people advocating for you so you don't have to do it all yourself. I do not really believe in going out and shoulder tapping sponsors, especially small businesses, because they have, if they have sponsorships, they're really, really going to care about the money. Like it's going to be, very, deeply impactful for them. And so going out and trying to talk somebody into giving those dollars doesn't usually work out as well as people who have heard about you or see you and go, oh, we want to partner with them. But, it is a little bit risky, but in my experience, it's, having people come to you and wanting to partner with you is really kind of the best step in kicking off a relationship. They're also important because partnering with beloved local businesses can elevate your league in people's minds. So for example, Rose City Rollers, once we started, it's one of those kind of things where once you start getting higher level sponsors, other people see that and they go, oh, it's not just mom and pop shops. So they see kind of the professionalism of what you're doing and go, oh, we want to work with them. At this point, we expect that they can like execute on things and they're gonna act professionally, and their brand is going to enhance our brand. All right, keys to success. Sorry, I'm gonna cuss here. A fucking awesome contract that says what they are getting and you are getting very specifically. Don't sell yourself short. Consider the time and energy it takes to deliver plus the audience size. So it might be really easy to grab a sponsor, but then that sponsor is somebody that anytime you have an event coming up, it requires 40 emails to deal with them. You need to take those kind of things into consideration and be watching for those in your negotiation process. If you have a sponsor that is like, you give them a packet, you have a chat about it, and you send them a proposal with the bulleted list of the things that they're going to get and things you're going to get, and they come back with a change or two, and then you get through contracting. That's a really great start to a sponsorship. And they probably feel the same way because you're not going to be wasting their time. They're not wasting yours. On the flip side, if you have a sponsor who is like, I want to have an hour-long sit down and I'm going to have, 14 emails back and forth, you're both setting yourself up for a high investment, low result relationship. So keep that in mind. Create standardized packages as a base so people can easily pick and buy. We've gone back and forth. We've done years where we have it's all a la carte. We have other years where it's like the base package is an in-arena mention, a banner, and an announcement. In-arena, logo on the website, banner. Yeah, I think that's it. And we will sell that for like $1,000, and some VIP tickets. That works quite often if that's the basis of what your world is bouts and things like that. We have so many different things right now that we're doing with like community events and stuff like that we're actually tending to do more of the a la carte stuff. But the base package is kind of what I direct people to because it gets them that good exposure at a reasonable price. I will also say that people are wanting more and more social media. I will say be careful with the social media. Do not undervalue doing social media because it takes a lot of energy and people have very serious expectations about results. And so charge more for social media than anything else. I'm looking right in the camera and saying that because I'm totally serious about it. You also need to make sure that you have a social media team that can deliver, or you're going to be giving people money back. It's difficult. I'll tell you, it's been difficult for myself. All right. Businesses often consider their financial support as an advertising expense and will not expect a tax letter. The taxes around sponsorship are pretty tricky. You need to be looking towards sponsors that are doing it for philanthropic reasons, which means they're not considering you saying, go buy my product, because when that happens, that means that they're actually doing advertising. If you are like telling somebody to go do this thing, or then you're actually going to be doing what is called unrelated business income, and so it has some tax implications. So when sponsors are partnering with you, really try to get them to give you a banner, because you could do logo recognition, you could do all that kind of stuff, you could do mentions and stuff, but just make sure that it doesn't sound like it's like a full-on endorsement where you're driving traffic to their place. Otherwise, it gets a little bit shady with taxes. Also, track all relationship and payment bits in software, like I said, like Little Green Light, so you have complete sponsor contact information, accurate records of payments. So for example, you can track a sponsor, who their current contact person is, the different times you've talked to them, and it's really kind of a clean way to do it so that you could have multiple people working on things, and year over year be able to see what's going on. And you can add in notes. So for example, one of my sponsors, she owns a hot sauce company, and she's completely radical, and I know that she loves youth events, so I could have notes in there that say, hit up Stacy when we have really cool youth things going on, and invite her to them. I also have a dude who owns a plumbing company, and he loves when we give him like signed posters for in his shop. And like, so having those kind of information so that like, if I get hit by a bus or, win the lottery and like leave, that we have that information so that it can be picked up year over year and is not just stored in my head. So track. All right. Talked about this a little bit before, the sponsorship cycle. Evaluate the partnership. So this happens when they are a new sponsor. Like for me, this happens every year in October, November, because we launch the next season in January. This also happens when you're first looking at sponsors. Look at sponsors and see if their core values align with your core values. See if their audience aligns with your audience. Do they, is your member base an audience group that they want to advertise to, or your fans an audience they want to advertise to? And also, like, are they currently advertising? If say there's a restaurant chain in your town, and they've never done any advertising, you're probably gonna have a hard sell telling them to spend money for the first time on roller derby. On the other hand, if you have, a new, I don't know, salon, like a couple locations in your town, and they're like advertising like crazy right now, those are the kind of folks that you want to go, oh wow, they're spending money, we want to offer them a unique opportunity. Sell the win-win. This is important. Never pretend like you're so cool that they should want to give you money, and never pretend like you're begging them for money, because it needs to be a win-win. They need to be getting something really good out of it. You need to be getting something really good out of it. And if that relationship isn't there, then there's no point in doing it, because it's not going to work for either of you. All right, put it in writing. Seriously, nail the shit down. Send your proposed contract terms in an email, and then use a bulleted list. I'll show you in just a minute. Copy that exactly into a contract. And be careful when you're talking to people and you're like, oh, we could do this, we could do that. Get down to the place though where you have exactly what you are doing, and make sure they understand these are the terms of the contract. We talked about a whole crap ton of fun things that we could do, but these are the things that we landed on, and here's the price that you're paying. Okay. Deliver on everything plus. Okay. So if somebody is contracted to get, 2 social medias, and they're providing the content, and they're getting a banner in arena at all your games, they're getting an announcer mention, they're going to be promoted in your internal newsletter, or they're going to be promoted in an external newsletter, or whatever the things that you're doing with them, make sure that you have a way to track what they're promised, and like in a space where you can see everybody's stuff, and that you're tracking the deliverables, especially because you're going to want to do some kind of report at the end of the year with all the cool things you've done, because that's how you're going to sell to next sponsors. And you need to be able to tell people that you delivered on what they were promised. And then the last piece is maintain that relationship. So again, you've got to have touch points throughout the year where you're reaching out to sponsors. Are you sending them a regular invite to games? Are you sitting with them? If you realize you haven't seen a sponsor all year, do you know if they're happy or unhappy with their partnership? Are you going to do a survey and ask them about how they're feeling about the value of their sponsorship? Are you going to reach out via text message and invite them to sit with you at a game? You know, are you going to schedule something where you have a bunch of skaters go into their establishment for a photo op and, you know, eat or whatever it is? So think about the ways that for each individual sponsor, you need to have ideas about how you're going to maintain the relationship. Some of the stuff can be real standardized, like you could like mass like email on blind copy, always on blind copy. You could email all your sponsors at one time and invite them to games, have them respond to you and have that kind of interaction. Really easy. You could also you know, take notes on the fact that like a certain sponsor, you know that they don't read email, so you have to text them. Just make sure that you're kind of keeping track of all that stuff. All right, sponsorship selling. Okay, so look at this cute packet Jen, our art director, made years ago. So this is the front of it. I linked it here, and I'm going to take you actually to this link. Time check 2:24. 12:24. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to show you this packet, but also you can go there. Meg, will you tell me if we're getting to this? Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, we can still see your screen.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, so this is our sponsorship packet. If you go to rosecityrollers.com and you go to the sponsorship page, this packet is on there. Feel free to steal it. Literally take all the things. You can ask me questions later on. But how cute is the front? It shows like all the spectrum of different things that you can do in Arena. And then it goes into detail. So first off, it tells a little bit about us. And there's DJ Agent Meow. Y'all know him. He's wonderful. Okay, so why support RCR? It's all like branded. It explains a little bit about us, our mission, vision. And then it goes into stats. So again, this is thinking about a business that is more professional than you may be. They want to know, what is your audience makeup? What is your skater makeup? You know, women, men, median age, household income, college education. They want to know those things. The other stats they really want to know, they want all of your stats as far as how many, what your audience is going to be, what is your reach in different things, social media, in Arena, all that kind of stuff. And then this will have different things for total number of games and stuff that we'll have in a year. So this was for 2022. Oh no, this is about the number of teams and stuff. So we have 17 teams, 4 adult home teams, reigning champs, youth all-stars, recreational programs. So we kind of explain all of that. So again, this is about really showcasing your what the audiences that a sponsor could potentially reach. And this is more important to them than you would think. So take the time to get this information dialed. And then it also explains philanthropic versus advertising sponsors. All right, and then building your cart. So this is minimum sponsorship is $1,000. That might not work for y'all. I totally understand. And then talks about what sponsors receive. So automatically they get a logo link. They go into an internal e-blast promoting for members to go and visit the sponsors. Also added to our digital discount card, and then invited to things and get a shout out at every game. So even if they don't pay for a 10-word mention, they get a shout out. Okay, and then we go into all of our social media stuff. I will tell you, a bunch of this social media stuff we now realize is way too low. But look at, again, this is when you're tracking the sponsors. Oh, look, that's me right there. I'm at a Lizzo concert drinking a beer from one of our sponsors.
Hey, sorry, Mean. I just realized it's not actually showing the actual deck on the screen, but I dropped it in the chat so that everyone can access this, and we'll also have a link to that.
Hold on, I got this. I got it dialed. Hold on. Look at me bopping right through that technology. Now, can you see it? Somebody give me a thumbs up.
Yes, we can actually see it now.
Okay. All right, here we go. Back to it. I'm gonna go real fast. All right, here's the About Us stuff. Here's the page where I described all the stats of the audience. Again, this is online. You can see all this. I mean, don't steal our stats, because that'd be totally weird. This is like the introduction to explaining them how sponsorship goes. And then we get into the a la carte pricing of all the different things that they can add on top of the $1,000 base sponsorship. And that's me right there at the Lizzo concert that I was talking about. But again, documenting all the sponsorships that happen and documenting, getting like the links to all the posts that you do is going to be really nice for when you're building these decks year over year and building your packages. Okay. Again, we just captured all kinds of different things. So these are different sponsors at different events. And then talking about brand activations and stuff like that. And so these are, you know, fairly high dollar, but they're really, and we add in things like recommended deal, and we add in, you know, explanations of what they are. A lot of these are very like sponsors can like, you know, make it what they want it to be. And a lot of the bigger brands like these kind of brand activation things, and they're really used to it, and the dollar amount doesn't scare them off. All right, next, in-arena assets. Okay, so this is like showing like there's banners all over the place. There's the scoreboard, you know, banners, there's reserved seating sections. There's, we even have like banners now that go right behind the benches that are special made. We'll do, you know, social selling, and we'll have brands in arena like this vodka. We have this sponsor who's a sponsor of our best seats, where people auction, they go to eBay and they auction for a couch and drinks and like a super good view of the game. So there's all these different kind of things. So like this page is great to give you inspiration of thinking about your particular setup and what you can sell. Some of these things we never sell. Some of these things we sell out all day long. All right, what's next? Okay, naming rights, announcer mentions. So official, okay, so these ones are big. People love this shit. Official timeout, the penalty box, the jam line. So these things sell so fast, and they're $1,500 a piece. The official timeout brought to you by whatever, and typically people are going to come at you. Like we have people always backed up wanting these. Like the penalty box this year is brought to you by, it's the Wild Penalty Box. Wild Penalty Box brought to you by Wild CBD gummies. And then Jam, the official Jam line. So the Jam line has been a favorite with auto dealerships. And then this year it's Jam on Hawthorne. They're a restaurant, like a brunch spot. And then the timeouts have been funny because one of our lunch or our restaurant partners is a place called Porque No. And so they're the taco timeout. And so you can get really fun with it. And so you can think about ways when you're talking to a sponsor and you know who they are and you're like looking at their brand, you can look at the different things and suggest things for them that make a lot of sense. I would never go into a sponsor call not knowing what I'm going to present. Okay, now back to this presentation. I know I'm really plowing through a lot of information really quickly. Okay, next, the proposal. So this is the proposal for Secret Aardvark, one of our sponsors. Terms, here's what we get. $1,500 payable to Rose City Rollers, our PO box, or through a provided link, due by February 29, 2020. 4 times items provided for inclusion in game raffle baskets. Secret Aardvark receives track bumper, 1 announcer mention per bout, logo on our sponsorship, 2 social media announcements on Facebook. Wow, that was a sweet deal. Oh, because it was 2020. A banner in arena, appreciation of 500 Derby skaters, volunteers, and fans, VIP tickets with requests 1 week prior. So it's very specific. And then what happens with this? So this goes into an email, and then this goes into a DocuSign. Like, so we have a contract template that has all the other like legal mumbo jumbo. And then this goes, so like they see it in an email and it looks exactly the same when it lands on the contract. And so there's no confusion. I highly recommend you adopt something where the proposal looks exactly like the contract. It has saved a lot of headaches. Okay, the next page. So we track stuff on social. I had Meg blur this out for me. It's kind of cracking me up. So we had, so this is a tracking sheet And we blurred out like some of the company names and stuff like that, just because this is going to be posted. But this is a spreadsheet that is very, very useful. I think that using Little Green Light to track your relationship stuff is wonderful, and tracking all your touch points, like when you talk to sponsors. But this is all about tracking the deliverables, right? So this is the sponsor name, what their deal is. So in here, it's going to say what they're paying and kind of the highlights of what they're wanting. So are they like base package plus social media plus Jamline, and then notes and status, contract status. So this is like whether or not their contract has been sent, if it has been. So this one inside here, all these things are dropped down. So it'll say there's a drop down that says the contract has been completed, or we need a contract, or it's in their hands to sign. And so that you can come in and change these things as they get updated. And then invoice status, same kind of thing. But the really great thing is when you look, oh shit, I acted like I was scrolling. Okay, so when you look, you can then see all the drop downs so that you can sort by what's in these boxes. So for example, if I want to know who's supposed to be in the slideshow, okay, so so when we're getting sponsors, and like down here further is a bunch of like other information, there's a ton more things that we sell, but I just want to give you this example. So it has all the different things they're supposed to receive, and if it's like got an X in it, that means they're supposed to be getting these things. So for example, the slideshow, somebody's getting a slide in it, it has an X. And so then what my art director is going to do is she's going to come in here and she's going to sort by this, and then she just pulls a list of who is supposed to be getting that. Same thing, like, you know, there's a ton of different things for social media. So it says what it is, and then there's additional tabs. So you want to try to keep this pretty clean, so it's an at-a-glance sheet. But then look at the other tabs. So there's like there is like the newsletter. So in the newsletter, we schedule anybody who's supposed to be getting a newsletter. See the X's? So then we take that information to this newsletter page, and we're going to do follow-up information with the sponsors. And we're going to say, okay, this sponsor gets this month, this gets this month. And we typically talk to them about what month they want and like plug them in. Same thing with social. It's going to be a whole nother page that's going to have all the tracking of, okay, who's getting what their content's going to be and things like that. Discount card, that's going to have all the information. Every sponsor that's supposed to be on the discount card is going to have their name, what the deal is supposed to be, and the status of us making sure that deal is accurate for this year. So like each of these, like we're trying to keep a lot of it in one place. We have announcer mentions and in-house and streaming. And so it's, you know, they're not always the same. In-house is going to be like all of our sponsors, like every single sponsor who is supposed to be getting a mention. And then streaming, it doesn't make sense to be broadcasting, you know, a little mom and pop shop necessarily. They don't care about the, you know, international broadcasting and things like that, the way other brands might who have multiple locations, or typically they're more online, things of that nature. So that's why we have those broken out. And then we have things for like, you know, a list of potential sponsors, because you don't want to clutter up your main page. So this is like, all of these folks in this area are sponsors, like they're dialed, they're all set. And then we have this whole list of sponsors who we were talking to at different points throughout the year. And then this one is like potential sponsors where we're doing like brain dumps of who we might want to work with. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's cute. I have some action on it. Okay, sponsorship relationship. The relationship is everything. So I want to keep drilling this into y'all. You have to make sure that you have the right person working sponsorship, and that they're going to be consistent, you know, at least for, you know, 2-3 years, because the relationship with that sponsor is what's going to be really, that's what makes them come back. Is, you know, they might love what you're doing as far as Derby, but they really want to have a solid relationship with your organization. And so that comes down to somebody in your league building and maintaining that relationship. Yeah. Okay. That's where I'm at. We're at Q&A. Okay, Meg.
Yeah, we had a couple of questions in the chat. I'll start with Faith's, which is, I know that RCR has a lot of events at the hangar that allow for a ton of sponsorship choices. If you don't have your own venue, what are some options that you might consider including in your base package?
I would look at things that are, I mean, so at events, you're still going to have the opportunity to do sponsorships. Well, I mean, first off, double check with your venue and make sure that they allow that. So if you're going to be doing any kind of events, look at how you can represent sponsors there. Do you have handbills that you're using to promote and you can have sponsor logos on that? In arena, are you able to bring banners and put them up for when you do have events? When you're doing mentions, can you, when you're having somebody like talk about the game, can they talk about sponsors? Is that allowed in your venue? When you're doing social media promotion of the game, can you tag sponsors and say that, you know, this is brought to you by? Is there something in your event that they can be on? Like, for example, is somebody, you know, can the garbage cans be wrapped? Can their products be sold? Can their products be given away to audience members? People love doing that. Can you distribute coupons? Can you tap your audience as far as your membership? Are there ways that your members can help fulfill a sponsorship? Can they promote on their social media? Can you all go somewhere to a sponsor's thing and then take photos and post them all over your league's social? Yeah, keep dropping other questions if I didn't answer that question completely. I think that your base package can still have your social media. You can have a logo on your website. You can have a newsletter that goes out to your fan that includes all your sponsors. You could just do a whole bunch of logos across the bottom that are links to their websites. That's what I would do if I didn't have a venue that could just have stuff up all the time. Social, external promo via newsletter and website.
Cool. The next question is, do we have a template for a sponsorship agreement or contract that we can share?
Absolutely. Yeah, totes. We will put it up on our site. And I can put a few examples that have like kind of base sponsorships and stuff like that, so you can see. I think, one of the things that we did not include, Meg, we need to make sure that the other thing that you put up, that we put into the resources when we post it on our website is we have a spec sheet. So when we send along their contract, they also get a spec sheet that says, okay, if you're going to send us a logo, it needs to be you know, certain resolution, and we need something with a clear background and all these different things, right? And if you're going to be giving us a banner, it needs to be 8x3 grommeted, and we recommend no lettering under 1 foot tall. So some of those kind of like little tidbits, like you could spend a ton of time telling somebody via email, or you could just include that sheet and get it out the door. And it doesn't have to be fancy. And if you don't use Canva yet, you should totally use Canva because it would be great for making a spec sheet. Okay.
And the next question is, I'm planning to cold email a lot of larger businesses we haven't targeted for sponsorship in the past. Do you have a subject line suggestions that might get them to actually open the email?
I would do something like partner with roller derby. Like, if you're like, as much as I like to think that Rose City Rollers is super well known, not all businesses are going to know that, but when they hear roller derby, they'll go, oh, roller derby. So I would put something like that. Don't ever use something like can we chat or something super vague. Think about emails that you get that sound like spam, and then don't use those subject lines.
Awesome. The next question is,
wait, hold on. Pause.
Sorry.
Okay. I also, you could go through websites and stuff like that, and you can like send those emails through their websites, trying to like come up with a really creative pitch that you're going to put into that tiny box where you put information in. But also calling and going places and seeing people and trying to find out who a decision maker is and getting their contact information is largely going to be more beneficial than just doing a cold email, because those are really easy to ignore. But if you can go in with your personality and sell your organization a little bit, that's going to be kind of get you in a better footing. And just, and I, like say, oh, is there somebody who, would be the decision maker about, community partnerships or marketing that I can like get their contact information. And, sometimes you'll get it, sometimes you won't. But yeah. Also, don't be scared of going onto social and like go into Insta and go drop businesses a DM and be like, hey, is this something that you would consider? Is there somebody that we can talk to? We've had success that way, as long as your social media looks good. So you might need to clean house a little bit before you start going out, because you know that the minute that you go and pitch somebody on partnering with you, they're going to go to your social and see how you represent yourself, and they're going to go to your website. So you might have some precursor work to do. Okay.
Cool. The next question is, where can I find out the price point for advertising in my area? We're a smaller market to your price. We're a smaller market, so your prices seem kind of high for us.
Totally. I mean, I would think about, like, thinking about where we started, I think that base packages were closer to like $500. And I think the thing is, you're gonna, like, you can say that there's some flexibility. What I tend to do is, my rule of thumb was this, is when we were smaller and we were talking to people and they didn't know who we were, and we didn't have a proven record, and we only had a handful of games each year, is what I would say is I would show them a base package that was like $500, and then I would say, and we'll add on this and this for free. So I didn't reduce the price, I increased what they were getting. But I don't think there's not even in a smaller market, I think you have to hunt for those folks who are going to pay at least that $500 mark, because if you think about the hours that it takes to fulfill a sponsorship, your league's basically making like less than minimum wage if you do anything for under $500. But you might want to do a la carte things, where you look at our prices and you know, take it down by 50% and start there. And if you don't get any hits, then look at our prices and take it down by you know, by like, I don't know, 75. But like, don't undersell yourself. Like you're gonna have to listen to what your audience says, like what your potential partners say. But you have to really be in tune with it. It's one of the reasons like we've been successful, is because I've been here every year in sponsorship since, you know, 2004. And so I listen to sponsors and I go, okay, well, this thing people were willing to pay for, this thing not so much. So it's not just across the board, like here's what our prices are. It's like, what are things that hold more value in partners' minds for your area? And if you guys make sponsorship packets and you're like, hey, I want to chat this out with you, I'm happy to, like, you can send me things via email, rocketbean@rosecityrollers.com, or sponsorship@rosecityrollers.com. And you could shoot it over and be like, hey, how does this look? Happy to take a look. Okay.
Great. Another question we had is it a good idea to have skaters approach their workplace and ask about sponsorships, or should it always come from the sponsorship relations person directly?
Well, it's a yes and. Yes, the skaters should talk to their places of employment and things like that, or family members who own businesses. But they need to hand it off to the sponsorship person. So they need to like find out if the business is interested. So for example, if one of my skaters was like, oh, my family owns this chiropractic company, I want them to sponsor and I think that they're interested, I would say, okay, shoot them over a link to our sponsorship packet or email them as attachment, and then let me know if they want to have a conversation. And you know, and so like, I mean, half of them, people think that their employer or their family member wants to sponsor, but then they don't really, they're just being nice. And so don't make it a thing where you put too much energy into it if they're not responsive and stuff like that. Like, so like, get their contact information from the skater and say, okay, I'm going to shoot them an email and be like, hey, would love to have a chat with you. You know, when's a good time? I could come by your business, or we could jump on a Zoom. But so yeah, it's great to have sponsors help identify businesses, but you can't let them negotiate it. You have to have a single point of truth in your organization when it comes to sponsorship. We used to let like teams kind of do whatever kind of sponsorships they wanted, and it was crazy. They would like give away the farm, and then sponsors would be like, and then that person would be gone, and we'd be like, why did you get so many things for like $500? That's crazy. So you want to make sure that you have consistency with not only how the league is represented, but with kind of the value that you guys place on sponsorship packages. So if you have a team, I mean, a team of people makes a ton of sense. And you could have like, you might have somebody who, like, for me, I'll go talk to anybody. Like, I'm super like friendly like that. And I'm happy to negotiate things. I hate doing contract management. I also like to have somebody else help with fulfillment. But I'm happy to maintain relationships and stuff like that. So having a team of people who can use their best skills in sponsorship is great, so long as you have really good, clean tracking mechanisms. You have to make sure that you don't have one person saying one thing to somebody and then it's not getting fulfilled over here. So yeah. Next
And
question.
Ashley had, so I think it sort of ties into what you were just describing, but it's sort of along the lines of what is the pipeline for teams who are approaching sponsors within the organization of the league?
Oh, girl, let me tell you. Sorry, I don't know if you're a girl. That was presumptive of me. Anywho, okay, so years ago, our teams would go do whatever they wanted. Okay, so then we said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to streamline this. And so the process we have with teams is this: teams can sell sponsorships, and they get 50% of the sponsorship. And what that means, though, is they're working the deal, and then on the back end, like, they're going to hopefully, if a team is sponsored by somebody, they are going to be helping fulfill a piece of it. So for example, if you have a restaurant and the team is going to go there, that's awesome, right? But then the sponsorship team is going to be fulfilling the sponsorship committee. I'll say that so it separates from the team. Sponsorship committee is going to be making sure that they get all the things they're promised, right? They're going to get their logo on the website. They're going to get mentions they're supposed to be getting. They're going to get that social promo, right? So that's where the split comes, right? The team has some responsibility to negotiate the deal, and they're part of your sponsorship committee. So we're just about to kick our sponsorship committee back off. And we have it very clearly laid out, but it's a really good deal for teams, because then you have the sponsorship gang that is making sure that these team sponsors are getting their stuff year over year. They're getting their stuff fulfilled, even if the sponsorship rep for that team is typically going to be somebody who may ebb and flow more often than your core people who are managing sponsorship. It's been a really great thing for us to do. And the 50-50 thing with teams, it's not that big of a deal once they start doing it. Like, they might go, oh my gosh, why can't I just do it? I'm like, because you run the business and you need to act like a business, because this skater over here might go off and promise all kind of shit to a business and then they're gone in 6 months. But you know who looks bad? Your organization. Your nonprofit looks bad because you let one person who is a volunteer and who is, a skater. So they're allowed to come and go, right? But the people who are on your sponsorship gang, they need to be kind of committed to, like, fulfilling, these contractual obligations year over year, where you're not going to have that same kind of commitment from a skater who might be being told your team job this year is going and working on the sponsorship committee. So I highly recommend that you have, kind of stability coming from your sponsorship committee, that these people are really kind of those folks that you trust to fulfill contracts. And then you have kind of a more fluid relationship with team sponsor reps. Happy to share more about that later too. Next question.
Yeah. The next question is, what software does RCR use to track and communicate all this information? What would you suggest for a smaller organization with no location?
Like the tracking sheet, or I like for sponsors, you're going to send emails with the proposals. Google, use Google Sheets for tracking, because you can let people into it. Make sure that you only allow editing access to your people that are working on your committee, but you can also share information beyond that with, like, so then you can take the link to that and share it with your announcers or share it with your social media folks. I highly recommend, like, Little Green Light for tracking donors and sponsors, and that's more about kind of like tracking, like, who is the person in each role. And I'm pretty sure they have a really affordable platform for small nonprofits. I should make sure that Meg, we grab that information and drop a link for LGL, because I will tell you, if you're going to do any kind of grant stuff and you're going to do any kind of taking individual donations and you're going to be getting sponsors, it would make a ton of sense to house all the information in one place. Especially, like, I wish that we had done a better job of tracking donors and stuff in the beginning of Rose City Rollers. We didn't learn how to do it well, and it kind of creates, you know, more of a headache than it needs to be. So the relationship side, little green light. The tracking and fulfillment, go ahead and use Google Sheets for that. And then, I mean, same thing, when you have your contracts and stuff, you know, store those as PDFs within a Google Drive. Just make sure that when you're setting Google up, that the key documents have to be owned by your league, not individual people. Last thing you need is some skater getting pissed off, leaving, and then taking a bunch of really important documentation. We use DocuSign for contract signing, and it's not very expensive. And I think that a lot of you, the flow that you would have, you could probably use the free version of a DocuSign. But again, that's awesome, because then it's owned by your organization, as long as, you know, your login is set at an organizational level, not like somebody's individual email. Did that answer that question? And then, oh, then the other thing, like I said, Canva. Use Canva for making all this shit. Like, it's amazing. Like, I'm kind of a menace when it comes to like knowing enough about, you know, making things. And then all of a sudden, Jen, my art director, was like, use Canva. I mean, I'm going to put in here like a template of the colors of our core colors. And you can go in there and you can find the most amazing templates and make things. And then you just click through it. And if you look on LinkedIn, I posted a Rose City Rollers is looking for a tech company right now. And I posted an RFP that I made. And it's a Canva thing. So it's a really good example of a non-designer person making something that looks really professional. So highly recommend that. Next.
The next question is, if sponsorship efforts have been a little scattered or inconsistent in past years, how would you go about establishing an initial revenue goal for a more dedicated effort, as well as a longer term revenue goal? It feels like the sky's the limit, but that takes some time to get there. How do you scale?
Okay. What I would do first off is I would get all your folks together and I would have a face-to-face meeting, and I would talk about kind of what are the roles and responsibilities of the people in the room, like who has energy behind sponsorship this year, and then talk about what do we think individual goals are, like what can we get to. So for example, if you look at what you've done in the past, how many of those sponsors do you think you can get back? And at what level, right? So start there with who you've worked with, and then go on to, okay, in the past, so say for example, in the past, you're like, we brought in $3,000 in sponsorship one year, right? And that felt really good. And so, you know, now you're like, okay, well, in this year, what do we think we can do? Can we shoot for $5,000? Great. If we're going to shoot for $5,000, break that down into measurable chunks. So for example, if you're like, okay, if we look back at the past, you know, we kind of had a scattered approach to this, and we were bringing in like, you know, we brought in 10 $300 sponsors, right? Then go, okay, so this year, what is $5,000 going to be made up of? So we want to shoot for 3 $750 sponsors, and we want to shoot for like 10 $300 sponsors or something like that, some mix, right? So you have some like $500 sponsors. I shouldn't have said 300 because that's not even. You have some $500 sponsors, you have some $750 sponsors, maybe you have $1,000 or $2,000 sponsors. So put a tiered list of dollars, right? And then go, okay, we need 2 of these, and we need 4 of those, and we need 7 of these to hit our goal. And then make a list of who do you think could fall into those different categories. Like, you know, is it a bigger, more professional brand, or is it a smaller brand that like that already gives to a lot of nonprofits and stuff? So they're probably going to be on like your $500 level. But I think that's the thing, is make yourself a scale, and then talk about who they are, and then talk about also personally who thinks that they can go after different things on it. Like you might have somebody who is comfortable going back to prior sponsors, where you have your dynamo person. You're like, I want them to go run wild and go talk to new sponsors and talk us up and like try to get us some of those you know, high dollar sponsors. And then also like dividing and conquering? Is somebody really good on social and they want to be the person who's reaching out to businesses on social and generating leads for those like kind of seller like people? I think that you have to, like, the big thing though is gather your gang and like put a call out. Put a call out to your community, put a call out to your membership and say, we want to relaunch sponsorship. We think it could do X, Y, and Z for our league this year, right? So sell your members in your community on how beneficial it could be. Ask people if they want to participate and tell them what a variety of the roles are. Okay, if you're somebody who wants to help with tracking stuff and doing contracts, you could do that. Or if you want to be a person that sells things, you could do that. Like, so there's all this kind of the different parts of it. You know, if you want to be somebody that helps with fulfillment, like hanging banners or you know, doing things at our events, like position it as like it, like sponsorship is a scary thing because people are like, oh, I gotta go sell somebody on something, but there's really a lot of pieces to it. Like, I love the selling people on things and I love the relationship part, but I don't like a lot of the admin stuff because that's not my jam. So sell people on all the different roles and like sell people on being able to like, okay, well, we want to meet and we want to kick something off, but then sell people on the fact that they could do volunteer gigs at home in their jammies on the computer. Was that exciting? Was that inspiring? Let me see. I'm going to watch the comment. Oh, thanks for posting the tech RFP. That was fun. Okay. We're at 12:58. Meg, do we have any one last Q&A or are we good to go?
I think that's all of the questions that we've gotten so far, but some excitement in the audience.
I can see the comments, they're right over there.
And
okay.
Just so everyone knows, we did record this, so we'll have this up on our YouTube channel in the near future, along with a placement on our website that has some links to some of the resources that we were talking about through the session as well.
So fun. Any thoughts on physical donations? We have, hi, check, yeah. Physical donations, a couple of things. We have a whole session that we're gonna have on donations. But when it comes to sponsorship, that was a good plug because I have a solid rule. I take donated products as sponsor trade if it is taking away a budgeted line item. So for example, if I have to buy a shit ton of beer and you're going to give me a shit ton of beer and that's legal, you know, that's kind of a bad example. If you're going to give me a whole ton of snacks and I was for my volunteers and I was going to buy snacks for my volunteers, you have just eliminated a budget line item for me. So I will do that trade and I will typically give you a sponsorship that's half of retail or close to cost for you. I will not take things and give you a big sponsorship deal for full value if it's not something that that is something that I would have bought. So for example, if somebody wants to give me a crap ton of chapstick, I wasn't going to buy chapstick. So really you are looking to reach my audience by giving me something. And so if that's the case, you're gonna be paying for a sponsorship, and that sponsorship is you want me to get your product into my audience's hands. So you're paying me for that. Yeah. And so so that is built in. So product distribution is in our sponsorship packet, because don't act like because somebody's offering you something for free, it's a benefit to you, because it's not. They're looking to use your audience to benefit them. So, and then also in the donor, in the donations presentation that we're going to do, it talks about how to treat those donors, because if somebody is donating something, you should be also on top of having their contract that is sponsorship, you should be doing a donor letter for the value of the product, and they fill in that part of it. So yeah, we're happy to continue sharing stuff. Okay, is that it? We wrap it up? Meg?
I think that's it. We're at time. So thanks everyone for joining us.
Awesome. That was so fun. I just love doing this. Okay. All right. Thanks, you guys. Have a great day.